All right, we're going to talk through some chaos scenarios coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, talk to the people about what a chaos scenario is.
So our guy, Josh Pate, the host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, earlier this, well, kind of midsummer here in July, early July, late June-ish, was talking about scenarios that would be chaotic for college football if they actually came to fruition. And he talked someone, he was asking him what would be the craziest thing that could happen in college football. And a lot of people, of course, submitted some things, John. And this was the one that intrigued me. We chit-chatted and joked about it, but there's two parts to this scenario, in my personal opinion. And so I want to get your thoughts on this one. First and foremost, one chaos scenario is this. Oklahoma start the season off 5-0 going into Red River, and Texas comes into there 3-2. First off, how likely do you think that could happen in a scale of 1 to 10? And if that should happen, if that was to come to fruition, what do you think Red River's outcome would be?
If Oklahoma goes in 5-0 and Texas is 3-2, I'll put that one at a solid 7. Because I could see Oklahoma winning out or winning their first 5, going into Red River undefeated, where I'm a little bit, and I feel pretty confident about that, actually. I feel confident that Oklahoma is going to go 5-0 to start the season and go into Red River. It's going to be what happens at Red River and beyond over those final 7 games that are going to tell the story of Oklahoma's season. For Texas, they've got Ohio State week 1. They play Florida in that stretch as well on the road in Gainesville, and they play up in the shoe at Ohio State. Those are 2 potentially losable games for the Longhorns. I don't think they lose both. I think at worst, they're probably 4-1 going into Red River, but there's a really good chance I think both of them are 5-0. And then we have all kinds of potential chaos setting up inside the Red River Showdown with 2 undefeated teams.
Whew, that would be bananas if that happened. And now let's go to the second scenario that could happen with that, John. Texas could end up in that scenario. Now, Texas fans ain't gonna like to hear that they could end up going into 3-2 is a possibility. Lagway's situation right now sounds like he's in a boot, has a potential calf situation, so he's gonna miss the first week of camp possibly. So that makes that Florida situation a lot less likely. But hear me out on this one. If it does end out that way, Texas has a path, they play it right, to where they would go undefeated for the rest of the year, which means they would finish season 10-2, but only 7-1 in conference. They finished 7-1 in conference, John. It sends them right to the SEC championship game. Could this be a repeat of the Kyler Murray years at Oklahoma, where the Sooners potentially lose to Texas in the Red River, but see them again in the SEC championship game? How likely do you think that is on a scale of 1 to 10? And what would be the outcome if they did play a second time?
Oh my gosh. Probably I'd put that scenario at like a 3.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't think it's very likely to happen that both teams end up in Atlanta for the SEC championship. My top 2 teams, I think I had Georgia and maybe LSU were my 2 top teams going to Atlanta. Coming out of SEC Media Days. So I think it's possible that one of the 2 make it. Texas has a little bit easier path to the SEC title game than Oklahoma does. But man, it would be crazy if that were to happen. There's so much about this season I feel like that could go 100 different ways. It feels like a really wide open SEC, aside from, Texas being a really, really good defensive team and kind of having to go out there and prove it offensively, similar to Oklahoma. And then you have schools like LSU that are probably going to be really, really good offensively, but are going to have to prove it defensively. there's just not one team going into the year that is absolutely dominant.
There really isn't.
There's not.
And a few people have talked about this, even Bill Connolly over there at ESPN. We'll talk about this tomorrow on tomorrow's episode more in depth, but he's pointing out that the SEC is wide open this year. So I see it, but they'll be so fascinating to see if Oklahoma can find a way to help add to all the chaosness that's going to happen here in the SEC. It's not going to be a bloodbath type year that we're used to, because when you really look at everything, having, what's that, 4 total quarterbacks who are returning starters, this guy has extended play. I don't really consider Lagway much of a returning starter, quote unquote, because, he was out for a lot of the season with injuries and he's still dealing with those. But Pavia's back. Nussmeier is back. Right? You got Lenore Sellers who's back. And everybody else in the conference kind of shifted some quarterbacks around. That would be very, that would make things a lot more interesting going forward.
I mean, there's potential that you get to the SEC title game and you have a couple of teams with 2 losses.
Oh, I've calculated 4 so far, and that is wild to me.
And so then you're running into the potential chaos of the SEC runner-up getting left out if they get that 3rd loss. Like, what does the College Football Playoff Committee do then if you've got a bunch of tiebreakers that led to the 2 teams that represent in the SEC title game, because it is a bloodbath this year, because there's no one dominant team, because there's no team without question marks. And what if you end up with 4 or 5 10-2 teams?
Yeah.
What does the playoff committee do then?
As I went through all of it, there's really only one way for Oklahoma to make it into the SEC championship game. They can only lose only one game all conference. If they lose more than one conference game, it's statistically based impossible for them to make it. Unless it's like really weird losses, in which there's another chaos scenario I want to talk about, but we won't talk about it on this episode. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode.
Yeah.
Because I've got 2 more chaos scenarios that, when I started digging and playing around with this predictor, my goodness, it would be wild if this came to fruition against Oklahoma.
2025 could be a mess for the SEC, or it could be great. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Football season's almost here. We'll have you covered every single day here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We will be doing post-game shows all season long, live here on the Locked On Sooners channel. Jay will be there for some of them, but not all of them. But we will have a show shortly after the game goes final to react instantly with you on the YouTube channel live. So again, make sure you subscribe to the show. That way you're notified whenever we start to go live. You can jump right in the chat and tell us all your feelings about Oklahoma. This Friday, we want you to let us know, or before this Friday, because we're going to talk fan feelings, how you're feeling about Oklahoma football going into fall camp and into the 2025 season. Let us know in the YouTube chat. I'll drop a little post over there, and you can respond with your feelings about Oklahoma football going into 2025. We'll do that throughout the season as well. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. So much chaos is going to happen in the SEC this year. I don't think y'all understand. It's going to be chaotic.
Yep. Everybody's going to be real mad.